$7 billion drug submarine sunk by U.S. Navy. The truth shocked everyone. September 27, 2025. In the black waters of the Caribbean, something stirred beneath the surface. A $7 billion narco submarine, built in secret by the world's most powerful cartels, was moving silently toward American waters. It was designed to be invisible, coated with radar-absorbing paint, its diesel-electric engines humming like a whisper under the waves. Inside, 40 tons of drugs were sealed in pressure-proof containers, enough to destroy entire cities. But what the cartels didn't know was that the ocean was watching. Satellite infrared picked up the heat signature, a single ripple on the surface, a moving ghost that should not have been there. Within minutes, U.S. Navy Command ordered a full intercept. The mission name was Silent Storm. Across the Caribbean, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer changed course. Two MH-60R Seahawks armed with depth charges lifted off its deck. At the same time, a P-8 Poseidon surveillance aircraft from Florida locked onto the coordinates, relaying every sound, every vibration from the deep. For years, the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua and the Mexican Sinaloa cartel had used cargo ships to move drugs. But after losing billions to U.S. blockades, they built something new. A hybrid narco submarine capable of sailing 2,000 miles without surfacing. Their plan was to merge at sea, transfer the drugs, and vanish before dawn. But this time, the ocean betrayed them. The sonar operator's voice cut through static. Contact, bearing 182, submerged vessel, slow speed. The command center went silent. Then came three words that would change everything. Permission to engage. In 2 minutes, you'll see how one of the most expensive drug smuggling operations in history turned into a burning grave beneath the waves. At 3:10 a.m., the Caribbean Sea looked peaceful, but below that calm surface, a steel monster was crawling north. The Narco Submarine, 81 feet long and painted dark blue to blend with the depths, glided 80 meters beneath the waves. Inside, 12 cartel crewmen watched glowing dials and sonar screens, guided by smugglers trained by ex-naval engineers. Their destination, the southern coast of Florida. Each section of the sub was packed tight. Forward compartment, 10 tons of fentanyl. Midsection, 15 tons of methamphetamine. Aft compartment, 15 tons of pure cocaine, compressed into vacuum-sealed bricks. Total street value, over $7 billion. Above them, the U.S. Navy destroyer U.S. Slasson moved silently, running on minimal radar signature. Its sonar array pulsed through the water, picking up the faint acoustic fingerprint of the submarine's engines. The contact was confirmed. The order went out, track and shadow. Far overhead, the P-8 Poseidon aircraft dropped a series of sonobuoys, creating a net of sensors across the suspected route. The signal returned immediately. The submarine was still moving. 4 knots, depth 85 meters, heading north-northwest. For 47 minutes, the U.S. Navy tracked in silence. Then, a new sound came through the headset: propeller acceleration. The sub was climbing toward periscope depth. It was preparing to meet another vessel, likely a fast boat designed to offload the drugs. That was the moment the commander gave the order that broke the quiet of the sea. Engage. The destroyer's crew activated their underwater drones, unmanned interceptors equipped with active sonar and cameras. The drones dived into the dark, speeding toward the target like metallic sharks. Below, the cartel crew finally noticed. A warning light flashed red. The sonar operator shouted in Spanish, "Contact astern, fast moving." The captain spun the control valve, forcing the submarine into a deep dive. The chase had begun. The narco submarine plunged to 150 meters. The deeper it went, the darker it became. Pressure creaked along the hull like whispering metal ghosts. Inside, panic started to bloom. The captain barked orders, twisting knobs and adjusting ballast tanks to stabilize descent. They knew they had been discovered, but they still believed they could outrun the Americans. Up above, the USS Lasson maintained its position. The ship's combat information center glowed red under low lights. Operators stared at sonar screens that pulsed with each return signal. Then, one of the underwater drones relayed visual confirmation. A gray hull moving fast, bubbles trailing behind. The commander leaned forward. Target acquired. Prepare for Phase 2. On the surface, the first Seahawk helicopter dipped low over the waves. 2 torpedoes were slung beneath its frame, ready to deploy. Every second counted. The sub was heading toward a trench, deep enough to hide. At 3:42 a.m., the cartel crew attempted their last trick. They launched underwater decoys, small noise generators meant to confuse sonar. For a moment, it worked. The signal split into 3 false echoes, scattering across the radar. But the Navy adapted fast. The Poseidon above reconfigured its buoy array, filtering the decoys by thermal signature. Within 30 seconds, the real submarine reappeared on the screen. Below, the smugglers began dumping cargo, hoping to lighten the vessel. Hundreds of wrapped packages shot up through the water, bobbing toward the surface. Some were marked with Sinaloa's Scorpion logo, others with Venezuelan codes. The sonar operator reported, "Cargo release detected." The commander replied coldly, "That's confirmation." They're desperate. Then came the order that sealed the submarine's fate. Deploy the Stingrays. 2 lightweight torpedoes dropped into the water, propellers spinning as they tracked the sub's heat signature through the abyss. The ocean had turned into a silent battlefield. The first Stingray locked on. A white wake curled in the dark as the torpedo chased heat through the trench. Inside the Narco sub, alarms screamed. The captain ordered a hard turn to port, valve shift, engine cut. Too late. The impact hit near the stern, a dull hammer in the deep. Lights flickered, gauges spiked, pipes burst. Water began to hiss through a hairline fracture along the aft bulkhead, thin at first, then stronger. Above, the Seahawk banked and called battle damage. The Poseidon confirmed a sudden loss of speed, depth unstable, heading erratic. The second torpedo entered the pattern, slower, smarter, reading the sub's new noise like a hunter learning its prey. The cartel crew dumped more cargo. Clouds of plastic-wrapped bricks spiraled upward, a glittering snow in the black. It changed nothing. The torpedo tracked past the decoy blossom and drove forward. Impact 2. The shock rattled the keel, tore a battery rack loose, and slammed men to the deck. Emergency lights glowed red. The engineer reported rising temperature in the engine compartment. Water in the shaft alley, power fluctuating. The captain faced the only option left. Blow ballast, surface now, hope for air and time. The valves opened, compressed air roared, and the wounded vessel clawed upward toward the skin of the sea. On the surface, the USS Lassen went to full intercept. RHIBs launched in a fan, crews crouched low, M4s leveled, eyes locked on the buckling water. The Seahawk's searchlight cut a silver road across the waves. Then the ocean boiled. The Narco sub broke through, nose high, bleeding foam, paint scorched, antennas snapped. A hatch cracked open. A man with a rifle appeared, coughing salt and smoke. A loudspeaker carried across the wind. United States Navy, drop your weapon, hands where we can see them, now. The gunman hesitated. A laser dot marked his chest. He tossed the rifle overboard and froze. If you want more real operations broken down with zero fluff, subscribe now, then keep watching, because the next 30 seconds decide whether this submarine sinks or surrenders. The hatch yawned wider, hands went up, and the RHIBS surged in. Grapnels bit, ladders clanged, and boarding teams flowed over the slick hull in 3 disciplined lines. Red lasers swept the metal, commands snapped, and the first 2 smugglers were pulled face down, wrists bound with plastic cuffs. A third man bolted toward the bow, slipped, and vanished into the foam. Nobody fired. Control mattered more than revenge. The Seahawk held station overhead, its searchlight turning the night into a blinding stage. Over comms, the team leader called status. Forward hatch secure. Conning tower secure. Stern hatch contested. Flashbangs thumped, white heat flashed, and the last pockets of resistance collapsed. In less than 5 minutes, the deck was quiet, only the hiss of ruptured tanks and the groan of a wounded hull. Below, the air was hot, sharp with battery acid and diesel. Sailors moved in twos, methodical, clearing each compartment. The forward locker held vacuum-sealed bricks stacked like masonry, fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, all tagged by color codes and cartels. The midsection held the nerve center, a low room of screens and drives. Hard disks went into evidence bags marked and logged, serial numbers read out twice for the camera. Then came the part nobody expected. A small cabin near the bow, reinforced door, padlocked from the outside. A breaching tool popped the latch. Inside, 2 women and a boy sat on a narrow bench, dazed, wrists chafed, clothing wet with salt. They had been taken from a fishing village weeks earlier, told they were cargo now, told to stay silent. Medics wrapped them in blankets, checked breathing, handed water, and guided them gently toward the ladder in the open air. Damage reports stacked up. The aft bulkhead was cracked, flooding was steady, batteries were overheating, towing risked a fire, a toxic plume, a sinking in shallow lanes. The call moved up the chain. Final disposition, scuttle the vessel. Charges were set along structural ribs, timed, redundant, verified by 2 signatures. Boarding teams withdrew to the RHIBs, lines slithered free, engines idled in a widening circle. The countdown reached 1. The night lifted in a rolling flash, water leapt, and the sub sagged as steel surrendered. Air roared from shattered tanks, the bow dipped, and darkness closed over the wreck. A billion-dollar machine, gone. The ocean, quiet again, for good. By dawn, the horizon was calm again. Smoke from the explosion drifted over turquoise waves, the last trace of a billion-dollar empire gone. On the deck of the USS Lassen, handcuffed survivors sat in silence, faces burned with salt and defeat. Among them were Venezuelans, Mexicans, and even 2 Eastern European engineers who had built the sub-stealth systems. Every hard drive, chart, and phone pulled from the wreck was now evidence. Inside the operations room, technicians began sorting data. Within hours, they uncovered offshore accounts in Panama, encrypted bank wires worth over $60 million, and coded messages to brokers in Spain and South Africa. The intelligence pointed to a growing alliance, one that stretched beyond cartels into rogue state sponsorship. The implication was chilling. This had not been a cartel's experiment. It was a prototype. Back in Washington, analysts traced the recovered coordinates to a network of shell companies that had purchased marine engines and carbon fiber from European suppliers. The investigation is still ongoing, but the message is clear. The sea is no longer a smuggler's escape. It is now a battlefield. One night, 1 submarine, 40 tons of poison erased, 5 lives saved, 30 criminals captured. A reminder that even in the silent depths, justice has sonar. If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, don't leave before you act. Like this video, share it with someone who should see it, and subscribe so you never miss the next mission the world tried to hide. Because somewhere out there, another vessel is already moving quietly beneath the waves.